Lex Luthor is not a villain, or at least not the one-dimensional bad guy you think he is. He's a modern-day Prometheus, a tragic hero, fighting a god for the very soul of humanity. His relentless quest for power isn't just about a massive ego. It's a rebellion rooted in ancient legend. And today we're going to unpack the mythological blueprint for his eternal struggle. To really get Lex Luthor, you have to imagine the world he was born into. A world just like ours, humming along with the familiar laws of physics and human limits. Then one day the sky cracks open and a god descends. That god, of course, is Superman, an alien whose powers are frankly absurd. He bends steel, outraces trains, and leaps buildings in a single bound. But it's more than that. He represents an absolute. He's invulnerable, incorruptible, and impossibly good. The world looks up at him with a mix of total awe and adoration. He's our savior, a walking symbol of hope. But for every person who sees a savior, someone else sees a threat. History is jam-packed with stories of gods meddling in human affairs, and it rarely ends well for the humans. When one being has the power to reshape civilization on a whim, can we ever truly be free? That's the terrifying question Superman's arrival forces on everyone. He is a walking, talking, existential crisis. His very presence creates a power imbalance so massive that it threatens to make humanity a footnote in its own story. It encourages a dangerous dependency, a cozy belief that we, Dante, have to solve our own problems anymore because a god will just fly down and fix them for us. And that's where the fear creeps in. A fear of being subjugated, of becoming secondary. The fear that our greatest achievements will always be dwarfed by a power we didn't earn and can never hope to match. It's this exact fear that gives rise to our modern Prometheus. Enter Alexander Joseph Luthor. In literally any other story, he'd be the hero, no question. By every measurable standard, he's the absolute pinnacle of human achievement. A self-made man who, depending on the version, clawed his way out of poverty and abuse to build a global empire on pure grit and brainpower. His intellect is off the charts, his wealth is bottomless, and his tech is generations ahead of its time. He's the best of us. He is proof of what we can achieve when we push ourselves to the absolute limit. But he doesn't live in any other story. He lives in a world with Superman. And just like that, all his work, all his brilliance, all his striving for greatness is rendered second best. He looks at this alien god and doesn't see a savior. He sees a ceiling. It's an artificial limit placed on human potential. Luthor's crusade against Superman isn't just jealousy, though let's be real, his colossal ego is definitely a factor. It comes from a deeply philosophical, almost religious conviction. He believes that for humanity to ever reach its full potential, it has to be the master of its own destiny. We can't live in the shadow of a benevolent, all-powerful being, forever gazing at the sky for approval or a last-minute rescue. Luthor thinks true progress only comes from struggle from humanity overcoming its own challenges. He worries that Superman, by constantly saving us, is actually stunting our growth. In his mind, he's not a villain. He's the one man brave enough to challenge a god for the sake of us all. This struggle isn't new. In fact, its blueprint was written thousands of years ago in the myths of ancient Greece. It's the story of Prometheus. Prometheus was a titan, one of the old gods, who had a special fondness for the new, struggling human race. He saw them as weak, living in darkness and ignorance, and totally at the mercy of the flashy Olympian gods. Led by the all-powerful Zeus, Zeus and his pantheon hoarded their divine power, especially the power of fire. Prometheus, believing humanity deserved a shot at forging its own path, defied Zeus. He snuck up to Mount Olympus, stole the sacred fire, concealed it in a hollow fennel stalk, and brought it down to earth for mankind. This fire was way more than just flames. It was a symbol of technology, knowledge, and enlightenment. Whoa. It was the tool that let humanity build civilizations, create art, develop science, and finally stop living in constant fear of the gods. For this act of rebellion, Prometheus's punishment was eternal and gruesome. Zeus had him chained to a rock, where an eagle would fly down each day to eat his liver, only for it to grow back overnight. He was doomed to endure the same torture again and again, forever. He was punished not for a crime against humanity, but for empowering it. Criminal to the gods, but a hero to man. As Luthor himself says in one of the most famous film adaptations, "I just want what Prometheus wanted." This ancient myth is the philosophical cornerstone of Lex Luthor's entire existence. He sees himself as the defiant hero, and Superman as the modern Zeusian alien god with an unfair divine advantage. Luthor's fire is the currency of our time: technology, data, genetic engineering, and advanced weaponry. These are the tools he believes will let humanity finally level the playing field. When he builds a high-tech war suit powered by kryptonite, he isn't just building a weapon, stealing the fire of the gods. He's giving a mortal the power to stand toe-to-toe with an immortal. His obsessive research into Superman's biology and weaknesses is a direct parallel to Prometheus figuring out how to harness a divine power. His life's work is a rebellion. It's an outright refusal to accept humanity's place as a lesser species. He sees the world's adoration of Superman as a form of worship that weakens the human spirit. His smear campaigns, his attempts to turn the public against him, his calls for government oversight, they're all acts of defiance against this new god. He argues pretty convincingly that no single being should have that much unchecked power, and his punishment, it's his perpetual role as the villain. For daring to question the savior, for trying to give humanity a defense against a potential god-king, he's branded a monster and a maniac. Like Prometheus, his torment is a cycle. He cooks up a brilliant plan to neutralize the threat. He gets foiled by that very threat. He's publicly shamed, and he retreats to his prison or his lab to start the cycle all over again, forever chained to his obsession. To add another fascinating layer here, let's bring in the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche and his concept of the Übermensch or Superman. Nietzsche imagined the Übermensch as the next step in our evolution. Someone who rises above conventional morality to create their own values and live by their own will to power. Ironically, despite the name, it's Lex Luthor who actually embodies this ideal, not Superman. Think about it. Superman, for all his power, binds himself to our laws and moral codes. He's the ultimate Boy Scout. Luthor, on the other hand, rejects all that. He operates by his own code, one that puts human progress above everything else. He clawed his way to the top through pure intellect, ambition, and ruthless cunning, the very triumph of human will that Nietzsche described. This creates the ultimate paradox. Luthor is the philosophical Superman, but he's perpetually weaker than the literal Superman. He's a man who transcended human limits through sheer force of will, only to be forever overshadowed by an alien who was simply born a god. And this brings us to his tragic flaw, where the heroic parallel starts to crumble. The myth of Icarus, the boy who flew too close to the sun, also echoes in Luthor's story. His soaring ambition and refusal to accept his own limits absolutely drive him toward his own downfall. But more than that, his pride corrupts his noble cause. Prometheus stole fire for humanity. Luthor, when you get right down to it, seeks power for himself. His for the good of mankind routine is almost always a mask for his insatiable ego. He claims to be humanity's champion, but he'd just as easily become its master. The man could have cured cancer and solved world hunger years ago, but he was too busy, too consumed by his obsessive hatred of Superman. This is the tragedy of Lex Luthor. He's a Prometheus corrupted by his own reflection in the sun, an Icarus who blames the sun for melting his wings. So, who is Lex Luthor? Is he a villain? A hero? The truth, like in all the best myths, is messy. He represents the peak of human achievement, staring into the face of a power that makes all our achievements feel small. He's a modern Prometheus, a defiant genius, challenging what he sees as cosmic injustice. He's a modern Icarus, a tragic figure whose ambition is both his greatest strength and his fatal flaw. His quest for power isn't just the simple grudge of a bald billionaire. It's an epic struggle born from a legitimate, unsettling fear, the fear of humanity losing its own soul. While his methods are monstrous and his motives are poisoned by ego, the question he forces us to ask is very, very real. In a world of gods, what does it truly mean to be human? And is the man who fights the god no matter his reasons really a villain? Or is he a hero we just aren't ready to accept? What do you think? Is Lex Luthor's fear of Superman justified? Or is he just a jealous egomaniac? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this mythological deep dive, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell for more breakdowns of your favorite characters.